Welcome back, everybody. This is Mr. R in northwestern Pennsylvania. This is TRP, the Run and Ellie Project, and today's show, which jig catches more crappies in the fall? Let's find out. It's September 17th and the wind's out of the east. It was a little too windy to fish the lower part of the lake. The chop was good, but not good for wind drifting, so I decided to head west and go above the causeway where I knew I would be shielded from the winds and wind drifting would be much more productive. Here's the game plan. The rod on the left is rigged with a 1.5-inch electric purple chartreuse tube bait, and the rod on the right is rigged with a 1.25-inch Moglo Outlaw Special. I'm hoping to show which one will catch more crappies in the fall. Pay attention here, teachable moment. So I'm trying to set up to film, getting all the cameras ready, and this is why you got to pay attention to your rods. Watch the rod on the right. Yep, I almost lost my rod. And here's the thief. Look up "stupid" in a dictionary and you'll find a picture of me. And the experiment begins. This is crappie number 1. I wasn't really ready for this one either. I finally got situated and began wind drifting. The crappies appear to be hitting a little better than they were the last time I was over at the lake. And if you saw my last video, you'll see that I had a little tougher time catching crappies. I'm catching these in 9 to 11 feet of water. I'm protected from the heavier winds from the causeway, and I drift about 600 yards, creating a lane until I find the crappies, and then I just redrift in a different lane. Once I get where I want to be, I put the jigs back down just a little bit off the bottom and start drifting again. And this crappie right here, I didn't catch the hook set on film, but I finally got him. This fish here is a bluegill. And I know it's not a crappie, but I'm going to count him. He hit the tube bait, and I'm trying to calculate here, get an idea of which jig panfish like the most. You can see how far I've drifted away from the causeway. I'm not getting a crappie one right after another, but you cover a certain amount of water, and I picked this one up. And he absolutely devoured this. You can see how far down. He really wanted that. Here's a little better look at that same crappie. We'll let this one go. This is fall fishing for crappies. You wind drift and you catch one here and there. But this wasn't a crappie. This was the second bluegill, which was fine. And we're still going to count him. And he hit electric purple and chartreuse tube bait. After I caught this bluegill, I decided to pull up the rods and head back down to the causeway and start another wind drift. After I got the boat situated, I put the jigs to the bottom. It's about 9 feet off the causeway, and I immediately caught a crappie on the left rod. That's the tube bait. And while I was landing that fish, I got a hit on the right rod, which has the Moglo on it. Now in Pennsylvania, we're allowed to run 3 rods. It's sometimes hard enough to run 1, let alone 3. And when you're filming yourself and editing and thinking about the shot you're going to take and running the cameras and tripods, and you're all by yourself, 2 rods is enough. But that was a pretty good start of the drift. And there's the Moglo crappie, and there is the tube bait crappie. I want everybody to understand, too, this is not a scientific study. You would need a minimum of 100 sample rate to have true, meaningful data. And the more stats you have, the more numbers you have, the more accurate your findings would be. So this is absolutely not scientific. I don't have a control group, but I'm just kind of curious as to, on any given day of the water, which one tends to catch more crappies. And right now the Moglo is outperforming. On other days, it might be the complete opposite. So it would be interesting to do a complete study over a long period of time and get a sample rate of something like 1,000 data points, and then you could objectively say, yes, this is the better jig. But I just thought it would be interesting to kind of see crappie fishing at this time of the year is rather slow, and it was a good time to test this. But in the spring of the year, in an hour and a half, you can fill the live well with 50 crappies during the spawn, in the pre-spawn. So things have slowed down now, and so I'm not getting big numbers to do that with. I've never done the test with a lot of sample rates. It would be interesting to see how that turns out. And remember, this sample rate's way too small to be conclusive, and I'm including bluegills. So, it's not 100% just crappies with the jig. Now, I filmed this on the 17th of September, which means we're really close to the autumnal equinox, which is Sunday the 22nd, and by the time I get this edited and uploaded, it'll probably be fall. The leaves are already changing on Lake Wilhelm, and I'm on the west end of the lake, and that's a familiar sight right there. That's I-79 in the background. Anybody that's familiar with the lake knows that location exactly. Well, it was time to head in, so I turned the boat around and headed east, back under the causeway. And it's amazing. The weather that day was supposed to be 3 to 6 mile an hour winds, which it was, very light, but it was coming right down the lake. This is the effect of that by the time she gets rolling. I mean, it wasn't rough, but it wasn't really good for wind drifting. You'd be drifting too fast. So it was time to load the boat and head home. And how did our experiment turn out? The winner was Moglo with 9 and the purple electric chartreuse jig with 6. And this is what I was using. There's the Moglo, and there's the Crappie Max 1.5 inch electric purple and chartreuse tube bait. Well, there's the experiment on the type of jig that I was using in the contest between the Moglo and the tube bait. In this case, it was electric purple and chartreuse. Now, 15 fish is all that I recorded for this video. That is not in and of itself very good proof. You need a sample of at least 100 to start having credible statistics. But that wasn't really the purpose. On any given day, certain jigs will outperform. Some days it's minnows, other days it's jigs. Sometimes certain colors do better. And it's also lake specific, but it gives us an idea. I wanted to start seeing if there was a pattern there. I usually use black and chartreuse as my go-to, but I started noticing that certain jigs do a much better job of catching fish more often. So that was the purpose of the experiment. So I hope you gained something out of that. I think I'll continue with this experiment further, and when I get some more evidence, more statistics that's scientifically based, I will relay that to you. Was it the jig? Was it the jig shape? Was it the color? Or was it the fact that it was tipped with a maggot? Or was it all three? Sometimes I don't use maggots, and I can get hits just as frequently with live bait. But being in the fall, I thought I would entice the crappies just a little bit more with live bait, and that's why I tipped them with a maggot. So get out there, do some fall fishing. It's almost archery season as well. There's a lot going on here. So I will be back with some other videos. If you have any ideas that you'd like to see, shoot me a note, and I'll see if I can't, create those for you. But I'm Mr. R. This is the Ron and Ellie Project. And until next time, we gone.